Welcome back to my mid-year bullet journal setup. I can't believe that 5 months are already over, but I'm really looking forward setting this one up and to share it with you. My name is Miri and I'm happy that you are here. Somehow I ended up with a moon theme again. If you watched my earlier videos, you might have seen my ASMR unboxing of the notebook therapy package I was lucky to win. If not, I will link it below in the info box. That means I wanted to use some items for this half-year setup. I struggled a lot, including the stamps and washies, so I used it more as an inspiration. But that means that you can set up most parts of this theme without having these stamps or washies. I used the Tsuki Suzume limited edition notebook in A5 with 176 pages. First, I glued the first page together as it can't be opened fully and therefore is harder to use. And I also want my first page to be the main page over 2 pages. In this bullet journal, I wanted to have a ruler. The last 6 months, I ended up with a temporary one and found it really helpful. As the dots are slightly different spaced in this bullet journal, I had to cut off a page in the back. I used the whole length but 8 cm width. I folded it in half and glued it together so that it is more stable. Then I took out my current bullet journal to mark the most used spaces I will need on my new ruler. And that are the marks for my calendar spread, habit tracker, title, and the weekly spread I used most. I marked the horizontal lines with a continuous line and the vertical marks with a dotted line. The width of the habit tracker I lined with a thicker brush stroke. I also marked 1 to 31 with a mark on every 5th line, because I thought that it will come handy as well. And well, it did. I'm not sure how I will attach this ruler to my journal. For now, it will just sit loosely in the front. So now let's move on to the fun part, which is decorating the front page. As I said, I was inspired by the Moonlit Alchemy Collection. To create a Dutch door, I marked the right page with a vertical line at 5 cm from the right. On that line, I placed 3 circles. The one in the middle I made slightly bigger. Out of these circles, I created 3 half moons. Around and through the moons, I've drawn a wavy line for a leaf rank. Then it was time to have some more fun and create a midnight background. Herefore, I used a watercolor pad with 130 GSM. I used the thinnest watercolor paper I had because I don't want it to be too thick when I glue it in later. But because of that, the quality wasn't that good. Obviously. I had to use a lot of water as it dried down so fast. But that's okay. Lucky me, water I have a lot. I mixed a dark blue using ultramarine, azure, violet and more or less black. After mixing the color, I had to water the paper again. And then I painted it all in. And I can tell you it was so much fun because I didn't have to be precise and could paint without using my brain. And I loved to see how the color was building up, getting darker and darker. Because it made so much fun, I created a second one while the first one had to dry. And because the paper is so thin, it dried really quick. Next, I wanted to try out this fluorescent paint I had to create some stars. It really worked. After I was done, I turned off the lights and it really glowed. But I couldn't get that on camera. With my Paul Rubens metallic watercolors, I sprinkled some more splashes for more stars. And it might look as I overdone it with the splashes, but trust me, for the background it looked just perfect. Back to our bullet journal. I marked a line around the moons, leaving 5 mm free, and cut it out. Then I marked in how much I need of the night sky paper and cut that out as well. Before gluing it in, I finished the front page by outlining the leaves and the moons. The moons at the top and the bottom, I colored in using my STA brush pen that came in the pack of the liners. And I must admit, I really like the black of them. It is a really nice dark black, and I don't have to worry coloring over it with water. With the golden metallic watercolor, I colored the moon in the middle as well as a square around the page. For the quote page, I kind of used one of the stems in the set, but drawn it bigger so it would fit my quote. I chose a quote of Les Brown which says, "Shoot for the moon, even if you miss it, you will land among the stars." It fitted the Moonlit Alchemy theme perfectly. If you like my video so far, I would be happy over a thumbs up, and make sure to subscribe to my channel, hit the little bell button to get notifications when I upload my next videos. That would already help me a lot. I wanted to incorporate one of the washi tapes as well, and ripped one of the bigger ones and placed it at the top and at the bottom of the page. The last step is to stamp down the period or year. I used my alphabet stamps that I bought on Amazon, and as stamp pad I used the gold metallic watercolor again. And that's it for the front page. Let's flip over and create the year at a glance page. Theoretically, I wanted to have 8 months listed here. Practically, I sketched out 8 months as well. Unfortunately, I cut 2 of them as I created the Dutch door. Yep. That happens a lot with me. Maybe I should cut all the Dutch doors in the beginning. But it's okay for now. 6 months are totally enough. Or they have to be now. I stamped the months using my alphabet set again. As for the decoration, I used 2 of the stems, but it would have worked just fine if I had drawn some moons and stars here again. Maybe it would have even looked better. But as I said, I'm so not used to working with stamps and washies and wanted to get used to it. But yeah, As stamp color, I used the metallic gold and the Tombow brush pen N49. As a border, I've drawn another leaf rank and colored it in with a metallic brush pen. For the next page, I used this stamp as a guide and drawn a hand reaching for the moon through some stars. I used the ruler we created before to mark the space for the title. I wrote the titles in pencil first and went over it with a dark blue brush pen I had lying around. I think I bought that once in a grocery store to start my brush lettering. The brush tip is already frayed, but the hard tip worked just fine. With the pigment liner in the size 005, I outlined the space for each category. In my last BuJo setup, I had a page for On My Mind and one for goals. Somehow naming my goals kind of scares me, so I ended up finding all my goals in the On My Mind section, and the goals section was almost empty. Therefore, I decided to skip the goals page and go with On My Mind. As we are halfway through the year, which means Christmas is coming, I have a page for writing down ideas for presents, for family and friends, as well as for me. The next page will be my When Did I Last and Books page. For the decoration, I used some stamps on coffee stained paper as well as on the night sky paper and cut them out. I arranged and rearranged them back and forth and then glued in the final result. With the blue pen from before, I wrote down the titles again. And with my trusty old Tombow brush pen N89, I colored every second line for the books page. I used the ruler to mark the space for a chart where I can note down when I last did something, as changing the bed sheets or coloring my hair or that kind of stuff. With the N89, I drew the lines of the chart. To name the months, I took out my alphabet stamps again and started with the J. And when I stamped the N, I laughed my ass off because I had to sing Jason Derulo. I've never realized that there is a Jason in the second half of the year, and when I stamped the D, I laughed even harder because it fitted the whole thing perfectly. Yeah, maybe I was sitting far too many hours behind the desk. On the right bottom corner, I taped down some more washies and called it a day. The next few pages will be for planning my YouTube work. The first page is for my overall content planning. I wrote the weeks continuously down and marked the months at the side, so I can write down easily what I have to do in which week. The next pages will be Dutch doors. I've cut out 4.5 centimeters from the side and then another dot space to create tabs. For the background, I wanted to incorporate the night sky paper again to stay consistent. I really like this page already. I marked every second line on the content page with the N89 because it looked too empty. To make the page more interesting, I've drawn a crisscross pattern for the idea section and the lines again for the BuJo ideas. The content page still looked a bit empty, so I tried to use some washies again to fill the space. As you can see, I struggled again.
Whatever you did, can you do some more now? Swear you got me falling for your ass on it. Whatever you gave, can I take some more now? Swear you got me craving all night and day.
At the end, I ripped off another thicker one and used that. The next page is for planning my monthly themes. I left the page almost blank because it's better like that if I want to sketch a theme there. But with the calendar on the left and the night sky on the right, it doesn't look too boring. So it's okay. The last page is for my social tracker and footnotes. With a blue Pit Artist liner pen, I've drawn another chart and stamped the months using the Tombow N49.
Whatever you did, can you do some more now? Swear you got me falling for you isolate. Whatever you gave, can I take some more now? Swear you got me craving you night and day.
But after stamping the N, I realized I made a mistake, for there was no Jason. I've cut a little stripe out of a leftover piece of paper and glued that in to cover that mistake.
Whatever you did, can you do some more now? Swear you got me falling for you isolate.
And as it is the last page of the setup, my desk looks like a mess. Every time I make room where I can store the pens that I'm using for the setup, but somehow they end up lying around my table. So I grabbed the wrong Tombow pen for marking the lines. The first second I was so shocked, and then I thought, well, no big deal, I can glue a piece of paper over that as well. I painted the tabs with a gold metallic color and decorated the pages with drawing some stars here and there.
Whatever you did, can you do some more now? Swear you got me falling for you isolate.
Unfortunately, I forgot to press rec as I created the tabs of the first pages, but you'll see them in the flip through. I used the metallic color as well as black, or maybe it was even the N49 brush pen, because it looks kind of grayish. I'm not sure anymore, sorry. But you can do it as you like. Both would fit the theme perfectly. And that's it for my half-year setup. What do you think of it? What is your theme, or are you recreating this one? Let me know in the comments. I would love to chat with you guys. Thank you for watching until the end, and I hope to see you in my next video. Have a great sunny day. Bye bye.